Hello and welcome. So, a lot of people have been giving their 2 cents about this whole Killing Floor 3 drama going on, so I'm gonna do the same. So, some of the things that I've been hearing, and one of the biggest things in all, is that it doesn't really feel like a Killing Floor game. And I somewhat agree to this, but I'm not saying it's a bad thing though. And the reason why is, well, it's a new iteration of the game. This is the third one, you know? There needs to be something new to draw in existing fans and to gain new ones. And this could be changes in how the game works. There are, however, a lot of issues, quirks, and I think the amount of changes that's been done are the reason why people are saying, hey, this doesn't really feel like Killing Floor. And I've compiled a list of things that I find weird, all from big things to small things to minor things that you might not even think about for now. I would, however, like to make a little disclaimer for all you hardcore Killing Floor fans. I've only clocked in 15 hours in Killing Floor 2, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. But I do think that some of these things that I found were a bit odd to have changed from the second one. So here goes. So fuck the dash and the slide. It just feels too much like Call of Duty, and I'm not playing Call of Duty. I'm playing Killing Floor. Please, just up the movement speed for all specialists, and remove the slide and the dash. I will say that the dash can feel good when you actually dodge something, but I've played with my friends for a lot of games now, and it's only sometimes that you actually dodge something. Not because I am fucking shit at the game, but because of ping or lag or something like that. Typical gamer excuses. So, the talent points, they kind of piss me off a bit. And I know this might be a small thing, but I can't for the life of me understand why we need these big numbers when it comes to the talent points. I understand that by giving us more skill points than what we need will make it easier to acquire the next skill. But I think this will run into issues being, oh, I only need one skill point, and that's fucking stupid. And I think this could be solved by just fixing the amount of points you get. If you win, you get this amount. If you lose, you get this amount. I think big numbers in a talent tree will make a simple mechanic unnecessarily convoluted, and I don't really like that. Why do we need negative stats on weapons in a PvE game? I don't know if it is because they wanted to balance some weapons out, or if they wanted to make something difficult. And even if that's the case, I don't agree with it. I mean, what's there to balance? The fun I'm having in your game with my friends? It doesn't make any sense. And if it's for difficulty reasons, make the sets cooler or harder. I'm not saying make them bullet sponges, because that's a shit mechanic that a lot of people do. But give them more movement speed, give them certain new abilities when you up the difficulty. Make more of them, stuff like that. So to me, Killing Floor has always been a power fantasy. And by hearing so many people complain about the game, it seems I'm not the only one. I mean, the game is literally shooting massive hordes of Zeds and having fun doing so. Giving weapons negative stats, or mods negative stats, does not make it more fun. Another issue that I have, but very small, is some of the mods, when you're in the armory, are just boxes. Even though, on the left side panel, there's a picture of it. So, they made a drawing of it, but they didn't want to make a 3D model? I mean, you made the game futuristic, so you can make the model whatever you want. Don't make it just a box. I mean, if you want to make it a box, please make it so that I can open it and have a fix for my gambling addiction. Okay, so one of the big ones that people seem to have a huge issue with is the setting. The setting is now futuristic, and people are not happy about it, but I am actually okay with it. It doesn't really bother me. I will say that it feels a bit uninspired, and I understand when old fans are saying it doesn't really honor the old Killing Floor. Some people say that it looks way too clean, and I kinda get it. I agree because apparently a outbreak or a coordinated attack with these Zeds has happened, And you would just think that since it happened, the atmosphere or how things would look would be much more fucked up. But no, we'll run around in a skyscraper that's squeaky clean. The only thing that's broken is a fucking vending machine. I know I'm over-exaggerating saying that, but I feel like they missed the mark completely when it comes to the atmosphere of the game. Some of the maps are too open. Like, I want more trees in a forest. Make it more claustrophobic. That's an actual talent to do that. I also feel like the lack of dead bodies littered around in maps is way too small. I mean, this is KillingFloor. There should be dead bodies all over the place. Not just the ones that we shoot, that lay there. I mean, it could be so cool if they made a amount of dead bodies at some point in the game where when you walk or run over them, your camera just start wobbling because there's so many. I would love for KillingFloor to get a map that is like an abandoned hospital. Like, just make it fucking run down. Like, basically a ruin, but it has to be claustrophobic, has to be disgusting. The atmosphere needs to be top notch. And I'll be honest, I don't think half of the maps have a great atmosphere. I know not all the maps in KillingFloor 2 had like disgusting elements or were like not clean, but at least the gore from the sets made up for it hugely. So that if you like shot one, there'll be blood fucking everywhere. I don't feel like it does that now. In short, all I really want is just more atmosphere, because the maps are just, they feel boring. Going back to the futuristic part, the only issue that I really have is the weapons. The weapons feel uninspired. I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at half of the time. And I know that that could be what they were after, and if it is, man, they hit the nail on the head right there. But it's just boring somehow. Like, some of the weapons are at best passable or decent, and at worst, they're just plain boring. Sometimes when the setting in video games are set to the future, I can't stop but get the feeling that it's because of the licensing for weapons. I mean, if you don't know, using actual weapons costs money now. And it's not because of what it costs to make the art or what it costs to make the animation. No. You have to pay the people who make the weapon. So let's say you put in a M911 in your video game. Now you have to pay Colt, the people who has the licensing for the M911. This is also one of the reasons why Call of Duty has all these weapons that are clearly a UMP, a Vector, or a Scar, but they're called a Fennec, a Striker 45, or a Tech V. Like, what the fuck is this? So, moving on to the mission control panel, I think it's very unintuitive. If it was up to me, I would remove the left side panel completely, and instead of the panel, it would just be you dragging and spinning it, and then pressing on the little circles. Like, a pop-up would appear, and a bit of information, and then maybe a difficulty setting, and then a play button on that little pop-up. Why make the why the effort of making a map that spins when I highlight the areas on the panel, but I can't do it? Bro, if I buy a globe at a store, which I will never do, by the way, the first thing I'm going to do when I set it up is to slap it so it spins. It's just, it feels good. And this mission control thing doesn't feel good. A small issue that I don't know if anybody has realized, because I haven't seen anybody talk about it, is there's no ground load anymore. I know it didn't have any impact late game, but early game, it was kind of nice to have two different weapons running around with, you know? Same with the collectibles. Like, they're nowhere to be seen. They removed it. And it's one of those things where you're like, why the fuck did we have this to begin with? But now that it's gone, I kind of want it back. And some of the icons of them were small medals anyway, so they can't be that fucking hard to make. Something that a friend pointed out to me, and shout out to that guy, is that when a new song starts, there's no pop-up anymore about the artist or what the song name is.
and I've scoured the settings. I can't find anything about reactivating it, let's say. So I'm kind of pissed off at that, because that's how I got into some of Synthetic's music. It was a very nice detail back in the day. Another thing about the music is that they've reused a lot of Killing Floor 2's music. I don't hate that per se, but when you take into account that you can't even get the pop-up anymore, I don't know when the new music starts and the old one begins. Now to the biggest gripe I have with the game, and that's the hub. It is completely useless. Okay, so they condensed the entire hub into the single press of a button, and that button is tab. You press that button and you don't have to use the hub at any point. All you have to do is walk to the VTOL, and then you're done. There are only two things that you can't access when you press tab, and that's the firing range, and then that you have to go to the VTOL. What you're going to see now is me accessing terminals and then just walking away pressing tab afterwards. That's changing specialists, going to the armory, the store, the battle pass, yada yada yada. The hub itself looks nice, but there's just nothing to do. It feels like they took a look at Deep Rock Galactic and what the hub is there, and I mean, they gave it a shot, but it's nothing like it. Firstly, you couldn't just press tab and skip everything about it. If you wanted to buy stuff, you had to go to that specific terminal to buy stuff. If you wanted to check the battle pass, you had to go to the battle pass terminal. If you wanted to buy a beer, then you had to go to the bar and buy some beer. If you wanted to shake your booty on a dance floor, you could do that. You can do none of those things in Killing Floor's hub, and it really sucks. It sucks because it has so much potential, but there's just nothing's been done with it. If you want to, you can go for a stroll around the hub, but there's really nothing of interest to see. In the middle of the hub, where you have your mission control and all that, a little bit in front of that, you have a console and a television and a couch, but there's nothing you can interact with there. There are also some rooms, but none of them are really obvious as to which specialist it belongs to. Like, there are two rooms that I am pretty certain are either for the medic or the engineer, and that is the fact that in one of the rooms there is a bit of medicine, but it's kind of tucked away so you don't really see it, obviously. And in the engineer there's like a shelf with a lot of tools, like nuts and bolts and stuff. So I would think that maybe, okay, he can build shit, so maybe that's his room. But there's no obvious one. Even the firebug, you would say, okay, maybe there's some gas canisters or something laying around. Nope. Like, they forgot to give the hub personality. Completely. There's nothing you can interact with in the hub that is fun. There are some bits and bobs scattered around the place that if you interact with them will say stuff like,
"Hi sir, if you use your mortar tool, you'll get some armor out of this chest."
Or there will be piles of things that you can shoot from Horizine that'll give you crafting materials. All in all, I would say the game is a 4 to 5 out of 10, and it pains me to say so. But the amount of what the fucks or what the hell is going on here is just 1, 2, 3 too many. I know that in time we'll get more content, and I'm completely fine with that. There's a lot of people who are angry that there aren't enough content, but like, Killing Floor 2 had its last big update in October 2023, and it came out in November 2016. Maybe we should get our priorities straightened out a bit and focus more on the game not working or being just boring, and not so much about its missing content, because that's not why it's boring. And hey, let's give them some credit where credit is due. The game's only $40, and that's in an industry that pushes games out in alpha builds, and it's $70 to $80. I mean, it's a fairly nice product if you take that into consideration. So this was my 2 cents on the Killing Floor matter. At the time of this recording, I haven't really been following the rest of the drama, so if anything's been changed or fixed, well, it is what it is. And this video is just something you shouldn't have watched to begin with. Anyway, have a great day.